Hello, we are the Ghostly Businessmen, and we are here to discuss some ghostly business.
We'd like to welcome you to this podcast today. It's pretty special as it is our first podcast.
So, we are starting close to home and going where we already attend school, Morehead State University.
Supposedly, the campus is haunted by many apparitions, and we'd like to discuss them with you today.
So, let's start with Nunn Hall, where we currently reside.
The first piece of information we will be dissing you about is from the book
Gateway Ghosts and Local Legends by Lori and Ron Coffey. You can find it in
The Rowan County Library.
and many other libraries across Kentucky.
I would assume so. It is a very hard to find book.
Yeah, good luck trying to find it online. Uh, so it starts with college campuses are one of the most likely places to encounter ghosts. And it goes on with paranormal activity seems to manifest in areas of intense emotion, which obviously everyone knows college is definitely tense emotion.
I couldn't agree more. I think that there's a lot of negativity that can occur on campus and happens every day.
So our first stop is Nunn Hall, which is a residence hall that was opened in 1969, named after what is her name? The wife of Governor Nunn.
Stay tuned as we fact check.
We all right, Beulah Nunn, named after Beulah Nunn. Uh, so the most famous ghost at Morehead State is called Penelope. Uh, uh, she was supposedly dating a boy who did not meet her parents' approval. She became pregnant by him and feeling unable to tell her parents, she sank into a deep depression. One night, Penelope walked up to the top of the ninth floor and threw herself out of the dormitory window, plunging to her death. Upon investigation, however, it has been determined that Penelope actually, well, we'll get into that in just a minute. So,
So some stories say are different for sure. This one has a theory that we will go over in just a moment. I'm for one have thoughts on the theory for sure, but let's just go over the story first.
so the book says that Penelope is the summation of three spirits who all committed suicide within the residence hall. The first, according to the book, was named Caroline, who was a sad and troubled girl. Uh, she was said to have been a student in the 1960s. Although she was involved in several student life activities on campus, Caroline somehow could not quite fit in with her peers. One day, deeply depressed, she decided to take her own life by leaping off of the roof of Nunn Hall. She landed on the lobby awning, severely injured, dying en route to the hospital. So, the maybe that's why the roof is so hard to get to.
Who's
That
to say?
they've got it blocked off. I mean, We may have been snooping around the ninth floor, but uh, the second girl was Ginger. In the early 1970s, while highly inebriated on chemical substances at a dormitory party, Ginger placed a handgun in her mouth and pulled the trigger. The final Nunn Hall female femme fatale.
Femme fatale.
Yeah, the final supposed ghost, whose name has been lost to time, is the one who became pregnant. Unable to withstand her family's disapproval, she drowned herself in nearby Eagle Lake. Many students claim that on chilly, foggy nights you can hear her screams and cries for help coming from the lake. It says that Caroline, Ginger, and the unknown girl, all three haunt Nunn Hall. So, we did research on this, and
Only was able to find very little. So if you go in our papers here, uh,
we
Dor
we did not find anything on anyone named Caroline, Ginger, or anything about a girl a resident of Nunn Hall, drowning herself in Eagle Lake.
we did find one piece of information on a girl by the name of Caroline. In
Yeah.
1968, 10/17 Morehead State News, you can find an MSU enrollment. There's a girl named Caroline Durham. According to my friend, he could not find any information on the girl graduating, leaving the campus to his knowledge. Right?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean
A girl named
Caroline died in the 1960s. Although we do have information on a girl named Dora Dolores Ball, who in 1971 uh jumped from the balcony on the ninth floor to her death. Well, she landed on the awning at, like they said with Caroline. She landed on the awning of the first floor and was not found for hours. She died. She made it to the hospital, but she died shortly after from her injuries. Uh, we have heard people saying that they never determined the cause of death, although in the they clearly didn't do their research well, because in the very next article they ruled her death a suicide. Uh, they said that people heard a scream as she fell by, but since they didn't see her, that that um he they didn't say anything since they didn't see her. She herself was not a resident of Nunn Hall. Instead, she actually lived in one of the Manons, but she
she
was here to visit a friend, and uh, no one knows exactly how long she was here before she jumped off the ninth floor.
is correct. I would like to just read you the story aloud to just summarize what my friend said here. So, Trailblazer, Volume 41, Number 9, October 19th, 1971. She died October 15th. Clarify. Also, you can read the same thing in 1971, 1021 Morehead News. They are Dora Dolores Ball, 20 years old, junior from Lexington, died early Friday of injuries suffered in a fall from Nunn Hall. Roger L. Wilson, MSU's vice president of student affairs, said the co-ed died at 1:20 a.m., about 30 minutes after arriving at the UK Medical Center in Lexington. She earlier underwent emergency treatment at St. Clair Medical Center in Morehead. Death was attributed to multiple injuries. Miss Ball was the daughter of Mr. and Miss Fred Ball. I'm not going to say where they live, and had transferred to MSU. This fall from Midway Junior. Wilson said the young woman was found about 10:45 p.m. Thursday on the roof of the lobby of Nunn Hall, a 10-story woman's resident home. She reportedly arrived at the building at about 15 minutes earlier for the announcement purpose of visiting a friend. 4 residents of the 3rd floor told us that they seen an object dropping past their window, but there apparently were no eyewitnesses to the fall, Wilson added. Miss Ball lived in Nunn Hall. She was majoring in elementary education. I would also like to read the Trailblazer Volume 41, Number 10, October 26, 1901, where her death was a suicide. The death of a co-ed at Morehead State University, Dora Dolores Dottie Ball, 20, after a fall from the 9th floor of Nunn Hall, October 15th, has been ruled suicide by Coroner Chester Hager of Fayette County. The ruling came last week after an investigation asked for by Hager, and charge became Miss Ball because Miss Ball died in Lexington at the University of Kentucky Medical Center. Police said she had been under treatment for epileptic seizures. Funeral services were held last Monday in Lexington, where her parents, Mr. and Miss Fred Ball, reside.
So, that is the only evidence we have at the moment of a person dying in Nunn Hall during that time period. There could be more that the Trailblazer didn't write about that I don't know.
So, just to clarify, the ghost that everybody says Nunn Hall is haunted by is Penelope.
Yep.
However, in our findings, we stated there has been nobody in Morehead State University by the name of Penelope who died
in Nunn Hall, let alone on campus.
Caroline, very similar to Penelope.
And Dora.
Dora is also very similar to Penelope. She did die. We haven't found anything on Caroline. Haven't found anything on Ginger.
Or the mysterious third girl.
The unknown girl.
But let's go ahead and go back. I think this is going on. So during our research we found some interesting things. Is there more to the Nunn Hall story from the book, or?
No, not at all.
I didn't think so. So,
just the fact that Penelope supposedly likes to play with electrical devices and computers. And
yes, that's what I was looking for. So, they they are collectively known as what? Yeah.
Sorry if you heard something there. We accidentally tapped the microphone.
Uh, they are collectively known as Penelope and are known to pull silly pranks and other acts of mischief. Collectively, Penelope is notorious for playing with electrical devices and seems especially attracted to computers, which makes sense if you've never had a computer in your life and you see a computer. Hey, I'm gonna want to play with that.
Yeah, I mean, like, you die in the 60s, you're like, oh my god, what is this bleepy bloopy box with magic powers?
Many students have reported hearing voices, usually in Spanish, coming from their computer speakers, even though the power to the computers would be switched off, which I find really interesting. Dora is a more uh, Latina name.
Yeah, Dora is a very Latina name, so it would make sense.
If it were Dora.
It's possible that she is of Spanish heritage, meaning could speak Spanish, or she already just knows, or she knew how to speak Spanish. It's
Yeah.
just a person.
But she also loves to turn on lights and showers, and for whatever reason, she has a strong distaste for the male name Nathan. I mean,
I I guess, maybe Nathan was the name of the boyfriend. Who's to say? Could mean literally anything.
one student reported that her computer screensaver, which was a picture of her boyfriend with his name, Nathan, typed across the middle. It would constantly be switched to another picture regardless of how many times she reset it. Penelope also doesn't seem to like folks talking bad about suicide or discussing the aforementioned suicides in a rude, disrespectful manner. We have been testing this theory out. I mean, it. We're not talking bad about the suicides, but when you read so many stories about suicide, you almost have to internalize it and make jokes about it.
It's sad, but that's why you kind of just gotta go along with it, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
She has been known to throw things across the room when this occurs. Nothing has thrown across our room.
We did find a story. We don't know if it was in Nunn Hall, but about
That
somebody
that
who
was in that one was in Butler.
that was no, that wasn't the Butler story.
I think it was the Butler story.
Are you sure? We'll
What?
fact check this really quick.
What?
Go ahead and try and find that paper. We're going off of papers that we printed out to make things a lot easier.
Yeah. Uh. This, there we go. Uh.
Was it of unknown residents?
Yeah. No, it's Butler Hall.
No, the one on top of here is unknown.
Oh, yep. Unknown location.
So
So it could have been
let me.
none.
Can I tell the story, or do you want? You could tell the story if you want.
Oh yes, this one. So, it says this happened in January to April of 2002. I was visiting my girlfriend in her dorm one afternoon. Uh, I had been picking on her about the girl that hung herself in the room the previous year. I said some really mean things that had been rumored about the girl and made some very rude comments out loud, trying to intrigue the girl's spirit, if it was still there. I always had a funny feeling about the room, just one of those negative vibes. As we were walking out the door, an alarm clock that sits on the windowsill flew violently across the room and crashed on the floor. The windows were closed, and we have ruled out the fact that it would have taken a very strong wind to fling the clock as far across the room as it went. My girlfriend picked up the clock and placed it back on the window, and we got the heck out of there. My girlfriend's never spent another night alone in that room after.
So that could have possibly been Nunn Hall, but as we said, it is of unknown residence. We did look up Morehead State University when we were finding that story. We found that story on the website ghostvillage.com. I don't know if we didn't use the Wayback Machine for that one. I believe that one is still okay. So if you do want to visit the ghostvillage.com website, that one's completely fine to visit.
Yeah, the rest of them we had to use the Wayback Machine for.
I would suggest not visiting some of the following websites that we will be
disclosing.
But let's talk about our thoughts on the Nunn Hall story. So,
first, we've both lived in Nunn Hall our entire college careers. I'm a little bit ahead of you. I'm a junior, so.
you're 3 credits off, mister.
Yeah, 3 credits shy of being a junior, but anyway, I'm a little bit ahead of you. I've been here longer either way.
He has been here a year longer than me. That is correct. And he has been here for more semesters than but I have been here for 3 semesters.
Yeah, this is your 4th.
This is my.
Yeah. So personally, I've never experienced anything too weird. That there is another thing they say about Penelope where she wakes people up by violently shaking them if they're going to be late for a class. I have gotten woken up when I was in the room in a dorm. This was before Darren was a student here. I had an 8 a.m. and I was alone in the dorm, and I just got woke up by some sort of presence in the room. I mean, and I wasn't late for my 8 a.m., so if that was you, Penelope, thank you. uh, but that's been my only experience in the dorm room until we were messing around earlier today. That's been my only experience in Nunn Hall.
Yeah, so I haven't had any experiences at all.
Except for while we were messing around
Oh
earlier
yeah,
today.
yeah. So I guess I'll tell the story about that since you told your story.
Yeah.
So my friend downloaded a Spirit Box app on his phone,
Which we trust to be semi accurate to how a spirit box works because it was doing what spirit box is doing, flipping through AM and FM channels. So
I don't think it's necessarily hard to program a Spirit Box, all things considered.
yeah.
Uh, but we were messing around with it, talking to it, trying to get it to say spaghetti.
It did not.
It did not say. But it did say a lot of things. But we honed in on something, and it was pretty creepy. We asked it what its name was, and it did say Penelope back, 100%.
And then we asked, did you say Penelope? And it 100% said yes.
So not only did it say its name, or, I don't want to say it, but whatever, whatever the thing,
Her name,
whatever the spirits can be considered, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, said not only her name, but
It answered. She answered in the affirmative when we asked to clarify. So
we've never had to think about if it's it or if it's he at this point in time.
so
Well, I guess
what?
we should say the spirit, maybe, yes.
I
Well,
mean,
I mean, so tell them your opinion on Ghost. I have a pretty similar opinion.
so personally, I don't believe that when a person dies, they leave their spirit on the earthly plane. Uh, I believe that energy can be left behind, and uh, high stress can leave behind a bad energy, which can manifest itself into apparitions. But I don't believe that ghosts, as they are defined, normally exist.
I agree with this statement. I am more open to the idea that it's possible that spirits can be left on this earthly plane, unlike my friend Aaron here. But I will say, I think that it's more likely that whenever a person dies, they leave this earthly plane, leave behind something of an after effect of what they are,
Some
kind of
kind
like
of
a,
energy.
yeah, like a carbon copy energy left behind of their like inner emotions, essentially.
Yeah. I mean,
Maybe some regrets, you know.
especially in high, I don't want to say high energy environments, but high emotional environments like a college where people are under a lot of stress, and they just, it leaves behind a lot of negative energy that can manifest itself. That's and the fact that the spirit box we were talking into earlier said Penelope kind of strengthens my theory, because we have never found anything on a Penelope dying in Nunn Hall. But everyone seems to believe her name to be Penelope.
So one more thing I would like to ask you while we're on the subject. Um, do you believe that these ghost devices barely work? Like, do you think that basically they kind of just like how most ghost devices work is if they kind of work on specific things in the environment, like temperature or uh, I'm guessing that you believe that these things work as intended.
Some of them. Some of them I don't quite agree with. Like, not a big fan of EMF. Like, in my opinion, it's there's so many things that can affect an electromagnetic field. It's just
I mean, like, so, like, I think electric magnetic field detectors work as intended, as
well,
pointed out. Yes.
yeah, they do what they're intended to do and detect shifts in the electric magnetic field, but I don't think that the energy is going to affect the electromagnetic field.
Well, you guys can tune in. I don't know if we'll be doing it live or not, but we will be investigating different areas on campus, uploading them to the channel in the near future. So you can look forward to that. And I imagine that Aaron might change his mind if, for whatever reason, while we're standing somewhere where there's clearly no energy around, you know, that the device goes off, then I guess there's kind of maybe
Well,
some
yeah,
validity to it.
and I will be spending a lot of time in our next place, Button Auditorium. This week is band clinic, so as a music major, I am required to participate.
Before
And
we go over Button Auditorium, let's talk about Nunn Hall. We didn't really get to talk about our opinions on Nunn Hall yet. You were getting a little ahead of yourself.
we got most of it.
So, like, I'm talking about the theories necessarily, what our theory is, you know?
Oh, yes.
So, my most popular theory in my is that Dora Dolores Ball, yeah, is it Bell or
Yeah,
Ball?
ball.
Ball. Dora Dolores Ball, Dottie,
Yeah,
Dottie, uh, is most likely, if there is a spirit, the most likely spirit here at Nunn Hall.
yeah, definitely. If there's a spirit here, she is the only. There are other people who have died, obviously,
Yeah.
in Nunn Hall. One, while I was actually here visiting the campus in 2022.
So
But,
so yeah, people have died in here, obviously, and it's not unlikely that maybe a Catherine did die in
or
here.
Penelope, or Ginger, or Caroline. But, because when Nunn Hall opened, it was a girls' dormitory, so they had a lot of girls by those names in those time periods. And it's possible that the Trailblazer didn't report on it because it would be a bad look for the university. So,
I'm guessing that in my opinion, I do think that at least one individual with one of those names probably did pass away here, I would say. I don't think it's unlikely to be possible. So that leads me to my next theory, which I also think to be a likely one, which is connected to the last one. Dora Dolores
ball.
Ball. Dora Dolores Ball's name changed over time. I think that in the early 2000s, her name was Catherine. I think that before that, in the 90s, her name may have been Ginger. And I think that in modern day, it's changed to Penelope.
I mean, it it's completely possible that it's like a game of telephone. I mean, the story keeps getting passed down through generations and generations of college students. They just forgot what her name was and made it up.
I'm not a big fan of them just disclosing all these people who may have died here. I'm not a big complete fan of it, but it is completely possible, like he said, that it is a game of telephone. That is the telephone theory that
Yeah, I mean, because I know when I first arrived on campus for Summer Success Academy, uh, we went on a little ghost tour where the uh peer advisors would just take us took us all around campus telling us about all the ghost stories. They had one for Nunn Hall, they had one for Eagle Lake, they took us to Button Auditorium. They had one for Ada, which we haven't really looked in.
that's interesting. Well, I mean, I wish you'd told me this before we
I,
started
I,
this.
I, I totally forgot about this ghost tour thing that they did until this moment.
You're unlocking a memory for me,
They-
Darren. They did a ghost tour for me that is completely relevant to this entire thing.
yeah, they had one for Raider Hall. Uh, yeah,
They had one for Raider Hall too.
yeah.
Why you you brought it up now?
So, yeah, that it just unlocked a memory. That's nice. Uh,
Oh my gosh. Well,
Now,
I for one believe that Raider and A Duck are probably the least two possible ghost spots on campus there ever would.
I think Aduc would be quite possible. Someone maybe jumping from the third floor down to the first floor. Those stairs are really easy to jump.
Well, that and all the other floors that nobody's allowed to visit. But
Yeah, going up off Prefontaine Tower.
well, if we find any information on those, we will inform you. That is for sure.
But let's go ahead and move on to Button Auditorium, where I will be spending quite a lot of time these next few days.
Button Auditorium is supposedly the second most haunted place on campus.
Uh, over there. Gotten all these mixed up now.
It's okay, we'll find them.
Here we go. Alright, so there appears to be three ghosts in Button. One dates back to when the theater department was housed there. They used to put on a bunch of plays, and uh that one time they would do
Hazing, pretty much.
hazing, where they would force the newbies to the veterans would force the newbies to put on a show, and it often involved a staged hanging
So, in the staged hanging, what they would do is they would tie a rope around their chest and
to hold their weight.
put a rope around their neck. And in one of these hangings, an unfortunate soul,
Had the ropes mixed up on them,
and
and no one noticed until it was too late. They say that sometimes when you're on the stage, you can hear choking, which, if that's the case, if I hear that, it's probably going to be me because uh, taking a deep breath to play the trombone.
you're definitely going to hear some choking on the stage whenever you're performing, that's for sure.
uh, so, the second ghost is the one we have found the most theories about. We have not found any solid information on any of these for Button, but is the ghost of Kate, who was supposedly a janitor and fell while cleaning either the clock and Button, or we found something about falling while cleaning the bell tower,
which we will
which
get
is fairly close to Button.
which we will get into here in a minute.
Yeah. But uh, it's said that she is kind of a protective spirit around Button. And once again, while the theater department was housed in Button, there was a report of a girl falling for seemingly no reason into the orchestra pit, and
A piece of rubble landing where she would have.
where she was standing, a piece, I think it was lighting,
It was like the roof, piece of the roof, like landed right like where she was standing at the time, and then like
and her her getting pushed out the way has been attributed to Kate.
which is an interesting idea for sure.
Yeah. Uh,
What was the third one?
so the third one that the book discusses, I believe, is the yeah Phoebe Button, the mother of MSU's first president, Frank Button, and the co-founder of the university. They said that she, at some point, haunted Button Auditorium. Uh, they said that people would report to see her walking around the auditorium. Although at a certain point, sightings of Phoebe Button stopped, and they say it is her disapproving of what the university has become.
Well, it was either so like they seen her whenever it was either under construction or under renovation, and supposedly they believed that it was either her approval or disapproval of what they were doing. But like he was saying,
Yeah,
um, they believe that it was her because they had a
it,
painting of her at the time that
yeah, portrait.
she was the spitting image of that portrait. Now, let's go into the
We
theory with Kate.
well, we've got one more ghost that was not mentioned.
Oh, actually we have two that were not mentioned. So I will tell you, you go
But
ahead, it's the child, right?
yeah, so there's a child ghost supposedly haunting Button Auditorium, who apparently died during some renovations in the 1960s. Once again, we have found no
Evidence.
evidence supporting this claim, but uh, apparently, uh, she you can still hear her calling out for her mother.
Well, keep an eye out for that, or an ear out necessarily.
I'll be a little busy listening to the rest of the Tubonium ensemble.
Good thing you're not outside staring at the sun like you usually are.
Marching band season's over, it's fine.
Anyway, yeah, we researched extensively into the 60s trying to find this, believing that if this was newsworthy for sure. Uh,
Yeah,
I
I
believe it
mean,
was it a kid fell into a cement mixer, if I'm not mistaken.
or freshly laid cement is what I think it was.
Yeah, either or it was something. Um,
I mean, yeah, it just crazy.
uh, but I will say, I'll say this, I cannot confirm or deny child, but not a
Lord, I hope not, because I'd say it's probably a demon.
yeah. So most demons are depicted, well, show themselves as kids. So likely, would most likely be a demon.
Yeah, I feel like most child spirits are demonic, which I do believe in demons.
Demons he believes in, guys.
I mean, demonic apparitions are definitely real. So,
So whatever the case, the second one that isn't mentioned in the book, I got this from a person in the library. So this is a personal story that I was told. He tells me he was helping me learn how to use the MSU archives in order to find a lot of this information. So I trust that he is a very reliable source. He told me of two individuals, two construction workers, who died during the construction or renovation of Morehead State University. I mean, not Morehead State University,
but
the
not auditorium.
Button Auditorium, the construction or renovation of Button Auditorium. Now, they don't know what he said. He doesn't know what happened to them. He believed that it was probably a gust of wind, like that, but he does know it was an accident.
So I haven't spent enough time in Button to really have any experiences. They say there's a lot of activity going on in the green room behind the stage. The only time I've been in the green room, it was overcrowded and I was just focused on getting ready for my performance. Uh, they say there's some stuff going on in the shooting range, uh, where they uh have our rifle team.
Hmm?
Uh, it there could be anything going on there, and we wouldn't know about it because we haven't spent a lot of time there.
We can't have an opinion on if it's haunted or not, but what we can say is that we have extensively researched construction and renovation of Button Auditorium throughout many decades. I believe we've been through almost all of the 50s, going through the entire 60s and the entire 70s,
And the entire 80s and 90s.
the entire 80s and 90s of Button Auditorium. What we can say for certain is that Button Auditorium was constructed in 1930 and 1920. Like it was
The
19
late
it,
1920s, early 1930s.
yeah, early 1930s. We didn't look at all of the 20s. Actually, no, we did. There's not very much on the 1920s and 1930s. We looked
And,
into the 1920s and 1930s.
and we researched through not only the Trailblazer but also the Rowan County Public Newspaper and the Morehead Public Newspaper.
Yep, all of it. 1920s, 1930s. The only one we didn't look into was the 1940s.
I mean,
Um,
we looked at some stuff in the 40s.
I'm sure we looked into some stuff.
But we've been researching for 2-3 weeks. I mean,
So I have an entire folder on campus construction. In 1961, there was a there was 5 major buildings under construction. There was 106 room Nunn Hall, I guess.
East Men's Hall. That might be East Manon.
Yeah, I would say it's East Manon. Uh, Story Women's Residence Hall housing 300 co-heads.
That would be another one of the Manons.
I believe it mentions, but not it.
Yeah, right there. Also under construction at the present are two faculty duplexes and a dramatic arts laboratory addition to Button Auditorium.
So there was an addition to Button Auditorium in 1961. This was Trailblazer, Volume 29, Number 16, if you're interested in looking. In 1967, got some here. Change at Morehead. It was considered a building boom. $14 million in construction was started, and another $9 million worth is scheduled to get underway in 1967.
Yeah, so there was a lot of construction going on campus at this time, as Dr. Adrian Doran, the president of the university and the namesake of ADUC, uh, Adrian Doran University Center, he was very into bringing Morehead into the future.
Absolutely. Um, in 19
That's the addition to Baird. We'll get into Baird in a little bit.
Yep, we will get into Barrett in a moment. In a little bit, actually.
Got the resident music major here for that one.
And 1966, I've got a few news articles talking about Button Auditorium and a lot of construction, essentially. But no information on any accidents or anything like that. That isn't to say that there weren't anybody who died during the construction of Morehead in any way, or that there wasn't any accidents during construction. They may have just not been in the
Reported.
newspaper. Yeah. So,
we don't know pretty much. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, so
because there's only one place that we're going to talk about that we can't visit because it's been demolished.
it could still be around. We don't know.
Well, yeah, two places we can't visit then.
Oh, right.
I was thinking about Butler Hall.
Oh, Butler and also the swimming pool.
Yeah.
We'll get into those. But yeah, so the 1960s was a boom for construction. A lot of people supposedly died in the 1960s. The 1930s was when supposedly Kate died.
Yeah, well, one account of the story.
So we're gonna talk about the other account of Kate. So, the 1980s. So supposedly, a girl by the name of
a teacher,
a janitor, is what they say. Story.
She was a teacher for a long time. At one point, she was a janitor to make her way through college at Morehead. Catherine Caudle.
Which, funny enough, Catherine is also disputed for Caitlin in Nunn Hall.
You mean Caroline?
Caroline, yeah. Caroline is disputed with Catherine, I believe the name, right? Or was it Caitlin? I cannot remember.
I don't know. There's so many names.
Yeah, but anyways, Catherine,
which Kate is short for Catherine.
Yes.
Was at one time a janitor at Morehead State College at the time. Actually, it was probably Morehead Normal School for educators at the time.
Yes. In the this was in the 1980s. This was whenever the name.
But when she would have been a janitor here to work her way through college.
Oh, yes.
It would have probably, because she retired after, what was it, 80 years of teaching?
80 years of teaching. Yeah, that makes it 19.
So that would add up to when they said Kate died.
1936, after 2 years of college, she held a lifetime teaching certificate and began teaching at Bratton Branch. But yeah,
so that lines up with around the time they say Kate died.
Yeah, so I mean,
she is a very good
candidate
for being Kate, even though she never died.
Yeah, so Catherine, which is short for Kate. So supposedly, a Catherine in the 1980s died.
Not retired.
Well, no, this is the story of the ghost Catherine.
Oh yeah.
At Button Auditorium.
Supposedly Kate.
Yeah, supposedly a ghost named Kate, but like in this story, her name was Catherine, died cleaning
the bell tower.
Cleaning the bell tower, but instead of it being in the 1930s, Kate. Sorry, not Catherine, guys. But supposedly instead of the 1930s, it was the 1980s. Now, nobody in the 1980s named Kate died, but
or the 1930s
or the 1930s. To the newspaper's knowledge, at least.
To the archives.
But the teacher there was a teacher named Catherine Caudle who did retire after 80 years of teaching, which
in the 1980s.
in the 1980s. She was a janitor at Morehead in the 1930s, and she graduated in 1936.
Yep.
The article that we believe that the person could have gotten confused with for somebody dying was teacher rings final bell after 70 years in classroom. 1980 05 24 Head News. Catherine.
Yeah. That.
The 1928 article on the auditorium gymnasium being constructed.
Yeah.
Morehead Light, Volume 1, Number 14.
Which the auditorium was once used as a church building, which I find fairly interesting.
Yep. So I believe that's all for Button Auditorium.
Yep. Let's go ahead and move on to another place we've not spent much time. Nunn Hall. So, the tallest of student dormitories, although if you're on campus, it looks different. Looks to be Nunn Hall, but Cartmel is 16 stories. There's 2 ghosts according to the book. We've got a few interesting ones. So, the first one is a student, young man, decided he was going to slide down the elevator cable from the 16th floor to the 9th. Now, I'm not one to call people names very often when I've never met them. But what special kind of stupid do you have to be to try to slide down an elevator cable? Now, obviously, he died.
Freshly slicked elevator cable, mind you.
And,
greased up real good.
yeah, the cable was well greased, of course. And obviously, he died. And they say that. Crazy, it's always the 9th floor. They say that his ghost still roams the 9th floor of Cartmel Hall.
Wow. The 9th floor, of course.
Even though there's 16 floors.
Wow. Not to mention, I'm not one to talk about recent deaths, but there was a boy who did jump Cartmel in 2021
From the 9th floor.
from the 9th floor. He lived in Nunn Hall, and went. Well, at least according to some sources, anonymous sources, I cannot guarantee are true. He lived in Nunn Hall and went to Cartmel.
But they say that like most college ghosts, he walks the one from the 1970s, walks the 9th floor, playing with televisions, computers, and moving things around. And he likes to annoy residents in the living residents in many other ways. Uh, I think he is likely one of the supposed ghosts who is known for just sent me a snap streak who is known for peeping in on girls while they're showering.
Wow.
That's just my personal theory. We heard it on that one podcast. I've actually heard people talking about it before around Baird.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it takes a real special kind of stupid to try and take an elevator table down.
Uh, the other ghost is that of a young music major who was selling hot dogs right outside in the parking lot of Cartmel. Cartmel has a huge parking lot, like very big. So he was out there selling hot dogs. He was one of my kind. And he his hot dog cart exploded,
Because of
killing
the,
him.
what was it, the propane
Yeah,
tank?
yeah, his mobile grill's propane tank exploded, killing him instantly. People still smell hot dogs in the parking lot of Carmel.
Well, I would like to mention that we will mention podcasts. There are a couple podcasts that we watched and got some well from alumni that used to go here. One of two alumni said that they remember getting hot dogs from the front of Cartmel, and they said they were yummy.
So, I mean, I think that's all of the ghosts
Cartmel. There's a
for Morehead in the book.
no. We got swimming
I gotta.
and Eagle Lake. Oh wait, no, yeah, I didn't mention anything about Eagle Lake, did it?
No, I think I did. Hold on. Our papers are way out of order here. Um, the swimming pool. Here's the swimming pool.
Well, before we get into that, I would like to talk about my thoughts on the
It
supposed ghost of Cartmel.
this book don't mention like, but go ahead.
Yeah, it has Eagle Lake, but it only talks about Penelope.
Uh,
Um, but I'd like to talk about my thoughts on the ghost of Cartmel. Uh, I I don't know if it's haunted or not because I've never lived in Cartmel.
Cartmill. Yeah.
Uh, I think the hot dog ghost
Pretty interesting.
is interesting,
One of my kind.
but to say that it's real or not, I feel like maybe the guy just stopped selling hot dogs. Thought he died. Joke on campus is one of my theories. Not to disprove that he did or did not die. We haven't looked into the hot dog ghost.
It possible. I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, let's go ahead and get into the swimming pool. Which, what time is it? We're getting pretty close. We're just a little bit past the hour mark, so uh, we we can do the swimming pool, then continue again tomorrow
I think we'll be able to finish. Uh I feel like we
morning.
can. Go ahead.
So, uh, apparently, as a part of an old fraternal uh hazing ritual, that they would make people who wanted to join the fraternity jump in the swimming pool after hours. Well, one guy decided he wanted to join the fraternity and they went in. He was probably so drunk that he could barely walk, and he jumped straight into the empty swimming pool, straight into the deep end, and died from his injuries. They then closed the pool, and it was reopened in the 1960s when local elementary school brought their students in, and two of the young children drowned simultaneously. Uh, People have reported seeing the young man walk around the empty pool or at the bottom of the filled pool, and they have also re- reported hearing the two children laughing and playing.
So the only thing I have to say about this is that the pool there was three iterations of the pool throughout history. The first one, I don't know the exact date, but that one was shut down, deconstructed, and the new one was constructed probably in the 1950s. And well, now that one was closed. We don't know if it's still around in an old building somewhere.
Actually, I seen a Morehead article talking about the deconstruction.
So it's
I'm pretty
possible,
sure that one's gone.
yeah, it's possible that the pool in the 19th also gone. So the current pool, there's nothing wrong with the current pool. It's definitely not haunted. It's cool to go to and swim.
Yeah. Uh,
We'll go ahead and move on to the next thing.
let's see. I think next would be Baird Music Hall.
Let's see if we have a paper on that real quick.
I think we printed anything off on Baird. Oh, here we go. Baird. Here we go. There is a story of a janitor who went missing during the construction of Baird, of New Baird. So, let me just clarify this. An addition was added to Baird around the 1960s that is still to this day called New Baird. um, so there is a story of a janitor who went missing during the construction of New Baird, and it's speculated that his body was cemented into the foundation. Strange footsteps have been reported in the building, although I am under the assumption that that's just how music majors be. Then there's also Jesse Baird, or William Jesse Baird, who is who the building is named after. Uh, they say that uh people often smell odd odors and hear piano playing on the third floor, even when no one is in the room where the piano is playing. My issue with this theory is Barrett is open from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And there's also a door that people love to use to break in. Um, I personally don't use the door because Dr. Oyen made it very clear that we should not use the door. If you know what I mean. I don't use the door. But pretty much every music major on campus knows about the break-in door. And it could be any music major in there playing piano. The
So
odd odors, the
probably the
mold.
mold.
It's the mold.
Yeah, the mold.
There's some mold in Baird. Don't
So
worry about it. It makes the water taste better.
So there was a Trailblazer article I'd like to say real quick. Volume 36, number 8. Addition to Baird. This is an architect's drawing of the proposed addition to Baird music building. The Acoustically engineered addition will house 12 studios, 14 practice rooms, a recital hall seating 600, a choral room seating 100, and a student lounge. Cost of construction has been estimated at $820,000. Bids will be opened in March. So, this would probably have most likely been the building, like the construction of
That was definitely the construction of New Baird. I haven't experienced anything weird in New Baird. I mean, the trombone studios in New Baird, uh, Duncan Recital Hall is in New Baird, 121 is New Baird, Narnia is New Baird. There's nothing weird going on in New Baird.
Well, I was told that it was either a homeless man that got wandered in and it was cemented, or a construction worker
Janitor.
Janitor was
too.
Lost. Yeah, janitor or construction worker.
Homeless man.
Just somebody got cemented.
Yeah, the thing is, as a music major, I've never heard anything, seen anything, had anything.
I'm just gonna try and see here real quick if there's anything else that we need to go over.
Breckenridge.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to hurry up and wrap this thing up. We went over Barrett Music Hall. We want to tell you a story about water-filled dorms here in a bit, which we don't know nothing really about.
Waterfall dorm?
Yeah. It doesn't exist anymore. It's just an office building. When it was a dorm, there was a room that you could hear laughter from. Supposedly at this time, they were attending school as RAs. Didn't even have a key. Even supposedly at the time, there were attending school. The RAs didn't even have a key to the room. Many have peeked under the door, and it has always been empty. They seen a guy in an all girls dorm around the corner and disappear near the room. But when they peeked at it, there was nobody there, completely empty. So that room, just was creepy apparently at the time in Waterfield dorm. Some of the stories that we are telling you are from a podcast called Episode 60, Haunted University, Morehead State University, channel Haunted Family Podcast. We will put it in the link in the if you're interested.
Of the video.
I got some anonymous tips. We will go over those here in a minute.
Got some Butler Hall ghosts, but Butler Hall has been deconstructed, so I'm pretty. We found evidence of a lot of people dying in Butler Hall, but I'm assuming that's why it was demolished. Really.
Yep. There's another podcast, Season 3, Episode 2, Morehead State University, channel Haunted Hollers. We'll put down in the description. They mostly go over stuff of common knowledge, but it's good to...
And they go over the book we are going over as well.
Yep.
But the last building on our list is Breckenridge Hall. So, Breckenridge has the Lucille Cottle Theater, right?
Yep.
And, they say that, the theater is haunted. Lucille Cottle Little Theater. Lucille Cottle Little was a patron of the arts, and she died on the night, the opening night of the theater.
October of 2020. In 2002, October of 2002.
Yeah, in October of 2002, the night the theater was open, she passed away in her home. So she was not attending the event.
It's just odd, and it's just an odd coincidence. Students report lights turning on or off, feeling cold spots in various places within the theater, particularly in the prop storage area. Many have also reported seeing apparitions of a woman in a Victorian era dress, as well as other apparitions when you look at them. Objects also are reportedly to move on their own. So there are two short stories that I would like to go ahead and get out there as well. The library stacks,
Yeah.
and the library stacks, fourth and fifth floor also.
Oh, we've got to mention the Yik Yak comment.
We're going to go over the Yik Yak comments at the end of the video. I was planning that from the beginning. We will get to that in just a second.
Yeah.
So the library stacks, often the stacks give off a sense of unease to the students who go there to research. There's no ghost associated with the library, to my knowledge.
Yeah, but I mean,
I read the first backdash.
it's a library. Obviously, it's gonna feel a little uneasy.
Yeah, the fourth and fifth floor also give off a sense of unease in the library. We're gonna go there, but I don't think we'll find anything.
Yeah.
And there's a short Eagle Lake, couple Eagle Lake deaths that we didn't go over, which I find interesting. A waiter from Jerry's restaurant is no longer in existence. A waiter from Jerry's restaurant reportedly committed suicide at Eagle Lake, taking her shoes off and wading out in the waters till she drowned. Some students have reported on certain nights when fog comes out on the lake, you can see her wading out on the water. In 2013, there was a 65-year-old hiker, an elderly gentleman, who died at Eagle Lake due to heat exhaustion. And I have one more death that we didn't go over, which I call the lake tragedy of 1968. Frosh, a boy named Frosh, drowned while swimming in Eagle Lake. Donald Paul Howie, 19, a freshman man from Canal, Washington, Ohio, drowned May 1st while swimming in a university lake. The son of Mr. and Mrs. Lindsay House. Don was an excellent swimmer, according to Jeff Williams, a close friend. He is believed to have suffered a seizure of cramps before going down in 60 to 75 feet of water. At the time he went under, he has been trying to swim with width of the lake and was approximately 150 yards from shore, according to eyewitnesses. He was swimming with Margaret Ann Roberts, a sophomore from Paris. John Roberts, a freshman from Louisville, was also with them, but was not swimming. The Morehead Fire Department was called on the scene to help with the rescue operation, as were the Diving Eagles University scuba team. The lake was searched Wednesday. This was the Trailblazer Volume 37, number 16. You can also check out Volume 37, number 16 has a little bit more information. Let me see here. That would be all of significance from that. He was the first person, according to the Trailblazer, to ever die here at Morehead State University at Eagle Lake.
Which is debatable.
Very debatable, of course.
But as of right now, that's all the known deaths and stuff on campus. Let's get into some Yik Yak comments.
Well, I'd like to ask you your opinion on a few things first.
Okay.
They're short things that we don't have to go over too much. So, So here are some anonymous tips. A person who was, yep, that was, I went over that. I was talking to a girl in my class. She believes that Andrew Hall and her dorm on the fourth floor are haunted by the ghost child of Penelope. She and her friend used a necklace as a pendulum to ask it questions, and later they used an Ouija board to find out the name of the ghost, Abigail. At night, she heard footsteps on the ceiling. There is no higher floor than 4 in Andrews. I believe that it's not the ghost of the child Penelope. I do believe it's possible it is a girl named Abigail. I also believe that she is just hearing the thumps of birds landing on the roof rather than actual spirits.
Yeah.
I don't believe Andrews is.
Andrews is one of the newer residence halls.
So I'd like to ask you your thoughts on the connection of Native Americans to Morehead. I'll tell you why this is significant here in a second.
I mean, obviously, Morehead has been Native American land at some point.
You know, people associate Native American land with spirits and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So long before European settlers arrived, the area surrounding Morehead was home to various Native American tribes, including the Shawnee and the Cherokee. These indigenous people lived off the bountiful lands, utilizing its resources and leaving behind traces of their ancient presence. Their heritage and contribution to the region continues to shape the identity of Morehead today. That was Cassidy and Discover Morehead, Kentucky, a glimpse into its rich history. You can go to Centuries 21 Adventure to check. They also, I found this, the Loki Rock and Ambergris Rock.
Lakiji and Ambergris.
The Lakiji Rock and Ambergris Rock, it's common knowledge that these were both very spiritual places for Native Americans, and supposedly these were both places where Native American natives
sacrificed people. Many claim to have seen the spirits on these rocks and roaming the woods near these areas. That's from Morehead State Transfer blogspot.com 2017.
Dude, buff height.
Uh,
Don't buff. No, not buff.
Then there's also said to be mountain witches that have roamed the mountains of Morehead who perform rituals. Students have also been known to use Ouija boards and perform seances as long as the school has existed, so...
Yeah, and mountain witches are supposedly a thing of Morehead.
I already mentioned.
Yeah, I found an article on those from 1980, Morehead News 1003, where, you know, they believe that there was a person who died. They found their body in the woods, and they believe that it was possible that it was the cause of, quote, witches.
Yeah.
I don't know my belief of that, but
it's interesting.
It's interesting nonetheless. If you want to read the article, go to 1980 1003 Morehead News. We're gonna go over some Yik Yak comments, but I would like to mention that we're gonna probably try and talk about these stories individually and upload them to the channel at some point, so that way it's not confusing. We just wanted to live stream and tell you our thoughts on this podcast. Now, for the fun part, the Yik Yak comments, the final bit of this video.
I want to read the
He's going
library one.
So
I love that one. Ugh.
Here you go. The first comment is very funny, and we would like to share it with you today, as well as all the others.
So the first comment is, I was in the library late on finals week and went to the 5th floor because it's quiet. I saw it out of the corner of my eye. Something white. I was terrified. I went down the steps hoping it was sleep deprivation. I was faced with the thing. I screamed and then realized what it was. I apologized, saying, "Sorry, I thought you were a ghost." The fat, pale, British ginger girl in front of me, who was ugly as a sin, told me, "That's fucking rude, isn't it?" I was more scared after knowing she was a real person.
Oh my god, that is beautiful. It gets better every time. It ripes with age.
This next comment says there's the music building with the ghost of William Jesse Baird, and then Nunn Hall with the ghost of the woman who jumped. My freshman year, there was a lot of weird noises that came from the stairwell next to my dorm in Nunn. It may have been hooligans. Who uses that word? On floors above me, just in the stairwell, but I don't know. They were some weird sounds. I was walking through Eagle Lake at night. I kept feeling like someone was watching me. I walked over to the 3 trees that marked the first turn you take at the beginning of the trail. I was just going to sit and listen to the water, but I heard a noise behind me. I thought it was just someone watching me or maybe an animal, so I turned to check it out. I saw a small white light coming from behind the trees. George's question mark. I kept moving around trying to get a better look at it before I fell into the mud. When I stood back up, the light was gone. I figured it was someone walking, so I just dismissed it. But when I turned around and looked into out into the water, I seen a small figure hovering close to the water. It freaked me out so bad I had to call my friend on FaceTime, and she calmed me down. I haven't been to the lake since, and I just get this eerie feeling when I'm there. It could have just been nothing, because I was smoking herbs out there, but it was freaky.
Yeah.
Me and my roommate saw several shadow hallucinations and creatures in the nun dorm room at night because we were drinking the tap water. Don't drink the nun tap water.
Don't drink the Nunn tap water is a lesson everybody should learn. And we all learn it the hard way sometimes.
I lived in Cartmel last year, 8th floor to be specific. We had all sorts of shit happen, paranormal and drama wise. Doors kept getting knocked on, and at first we thought it was other people on the floor trying to be annoying. Well, one night we had like 3 knocks on the door, and me and my roommate said enough is enough. We're gonna catch who's doing this, so we waited literally 25 minutes in silence. The second the next knock came, I swung the door open, but there wasn't a soul in the hallway. The way I immediately got chills down my spine and still get chills telling people about it. There's no way someone could have knocked on that door and got away so fast without making a sound. I would have thought I was going crazy and hearing things, but my roommate heard all the knocks too.
So we got one more group of comments. Here you go.
This is the same one.
Oh, excuse me. Let me. Here you are.
Okay. Every time I'm in my dorm alone, there's strange noises, but it never happens when my roommates are around. Nunn Hall, 9th floor. I was exploring Button after hours with a friend one time. We were playing the piano backstage. We both got a really bad feeling of dread at the same time and booked it because we knew there was something wrong. I've heard a handful of other stories about Button too. Uh, there have been multiple people who commit suicide by jumping out of Nunn Hall, and there's a lot of stuff going on out at Rape Hill, which we are intentionally not going over.
Yeah, that is for sure.
Let's just say don't visit that spot.
Yeah, on campus, that place is
It
notorious for a lot of reasons. That is for
it
sure.
it exists. Don't go there.
Well, I would like to leave this with you guys. Like I said, there are going to be some other stuff coming up here soon. We are going to get a bunch of ghost supplies, and we are going to go to each individual spot on campus and
That we can get access to.
and record and document all that we can on the ghost stuff. Whenever I say we have every equipment, that is not an exaggeration. And whenever I say that we will leave no stones unturned,
No pencils left indoors.
that is what I mean it literally. EMF only scratches the surface of what we got.
Spirit box. Dots. We're going full out phasmophobia on this shit.
But yeah, stay tuned for that, and we will also upload the stories individually at some point. We don't know when that will be, but if you ever, obviously, if you're listening to the podcast, there's no reason for you to have to do that. But if you ever feel like we're going to create a playlist, and if you ever feel like just listening to ghost stories be shuffled, feel free to listen to the ghost stories. I think that's enough said.
That's all for your friendly neighborhood ghostly businessmen.
We'll see you the next time we do business.
We will let you know when we have more business.
Hopefully, if this works out, we will go to other fantastic hotspots and tell you the stories. You all have a
wonderful
business day.
We should have thought of an ending.